Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon weekend Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for the weekend of September 13th through the 15th of 2019. All right, so time of heightened energy. We are at the culminating part of the lunar month. We have a full moon in Pisces, kind of close to Aquarius, sidereally speaking. If you are new to the channel, definitely check out the link down below for more information on sidereal astrology, because the signs are slightly different from mainstream astrology. But in this case, yeah, full moon in Pisces, great time of now integrating these receptive qualities of ourself. How can we be more accepting, listen to our intuition, surrender what's outside of our control, and find essentially peace in life, which is what Pisces is all about. With a little bit of Aquarius, there could be maybe some freedom and change and some unorthodoxy that we can bring into the mix with this. And yeah, there's a lot going on with the full moon. We have a conjunction up to Neptune, adding to the water energy. We have a T-square with Jupiter, suggesting maybe a bit of pendulum swing with optimism or hopefulness that we can integrate, which we'll talk about. Some sextiles with Saturn, Pluto in the south node, and lots of oppositions with the sun, because we still have a lot of planets next to the sun as well. So this will be an important time of balance with the full moon. Along with this, we do have a lot of major aspects going on here as we approach the weekend as well. So let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart for the full moon, and it will be right on the cusp between Friday and Saturday. The exact time will be 01:13 in the AM Eastern time of the Americas on Saturday, if you do want to make that calculation for wherever you are in the world. But for all intents and purposes, this will be the full moon on Friday and Saturday. All right, so here's the chart. We do have the full moon right at the beginning of Pisces, within a couple degrees, and still very close to Aquarius. So it'll likely be a bit of a cusp energy, both signs here, but probably leaning more so towards Pisces, since it is the beginning of the sign, and also because the full moon will be conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces. So in this case, full moon, it is the harvest time of things that have culminated maybe since the past 2 weeks. Anything that started 2 weeks ago could be coming ahead. Also in the solar cycle from the past 6 months as well. And in this context, anything that can help us develop more of this receptivity of Pisces is going to help us make this kind of shift and pivot. Because usually with the full moon, along with the harvest, there comes this insight about how are these qualities of receptivity going for us in our life, and how can we maybe make some shifts and pivots to further develop these qualities. So Pisces is about gaining greater peace and tranquility in life fundamentally. It is about finding that peace. And in order to do this, surrendering what's outside of our control, living a little bit more presently, letting go, right? Accepting more of what is. This could be in the present moment, or just what is in our life or about ourselves. And to do this, really trusting the divine process, trusting the universe, God, source, however you see that philosophically, but trusting this kind of what I would call divine process or undercurrents of things. So this can be very peaceful as a result of this, and from this also derives some intuition, some inner guidance. It's a good time of going within the self to really ask ourselves what is really meaningful to us, what's important on a soul level for us, and again, reconnecting with this spiritual receptive side of ourself to access a bit of this flow, to yes, maybe cultivate some of our deeper soul needs and things that are more meaningful on that level, and having a little bit more of this accepting nature and all of this. Really good to cultivate with Pisces. So with this comes a bit of Aquarian energy as well, maybe not so much, but a little bit. If you do feel that there is this freedom energy, where it's this time where you're maybe wanting to mix things up, listen to your excitement a bit, or maybe it's more collective. Maybe it involves your future ideals in some way. Could also be good to access a bit of Aquarius, which is this freedom-loving, wanting to challenge things to create that change and freedom, disrupting the status quo. And yes, looking at things a bit maybe with those future ideals. What are our ideals, both for ourselves and the collective? So it could be a good time of also seeing how is our contributing side and our other oriented side when it comes to communities in the world at large. All right, so those are the two signs associated with it, and the conjunction to Neptune is just really going to add to that Pisces energy. This is bringing in more of that, again, kind of washing away energy where we can reintegrate things on that soul level and that more deeper level with that side of ourself. So along with this, with all full moons comes an opposition, and in this case with not only the Sun, but also Mars, Venus, and Mercury. So a lot of things started about 2 weeks ago with these planets. It may have been involving our drives and ambitions with Mars, may have been involving relationships or values with Venus, or maybe even new ideas from a couple weeks ago. This is the kind of stuff that could be coming ahead with the full moon. But as all oppositions are, I think it's an important time of balance. And in this case, with Mars and the Sun in Leo, balancing this receptive energy with maybe still having some fun. Leo's been a great time of cultivating our fun-loving side, our expressive side, playful side, passionate side. Still really good to do this as the Sun and Mars finish Leo. Now, earlier this week, we had Venus and Mercury enter into grounded Virgo. So grounding some of this spiritual energy into things like maybe our routine can be great, right? Maybe things like physical health, diet, doing the work, our service, these kinds of personal development, day-to-day improvement-oriented things could also be really good to balance this more watery energy of the full moon. So with this full moon, we do have a T-square up to Jupiter in Ophiuchus, and in this case, with squares to Jupiter, sometimes there can be a bit of an over-under expansion or inspiration or confidence. And so it is good to channel this constructively if you are feeling it. It could be over or under, it could be both, but seeing what potentials there are in your life and how you can integrate them, take some actions towards them, and get into maybe a bit of that adventurous side and free-spirited side that does want to expand those horizons and cultivate some of these inspirations and potentials, but just to do so in a way that's constructive, grounded, one step at a time, and consciously, right? Consciously doing that can be great with the T-square, and that keeps everything nice and grounded so it doesn't become too over or under inflated sometimes with squares to Jupiter. But usually squares to Jupiter come across as quite benefic, quite easy to work with in that sense, and so just with a little bit of mindfulness, again, can be a very constructive time for those ideals, especially if anything in that level has to do with healing, or transformation or empowerment with Jupiter and Ophiuchus. All right, so those are definitely the most important aspects. In fact, you could just look at those and that'll give you probably 90% of the interpretation of the full moon. But we do also have some sextiles up to Saturn, the South Node, and Pluto. And so in this case, we might be feeling slightly grounded with the full moon, which is great considering there's a lot of water energy coming into the mix. Maybe a bit empowered with Pluto. In fact, the Sun will be trining up to Pluto leading up to the full moon, which we'll look at. So maybe feeling a bit empowered. Great time to maybe face some fears, but it'll come very naturally or probably just very deep and raw and more attuned to the things that really matter in life. And with the South Node, maybe some releasing. Nothing major with this, but maybe just feeling a little bit free from releasing some karmic energy or some patterns that, again, can be very supportive with the full moon. All right, so that is the full moon in a nutshell. Now, there is a lot going on this weekend astrologically, most of which is concentrated on Friday as we approach the full moon. So Friday, as the day unfolds, we will be increasing the full moon energy, getting closer to it. And again, the full moon will be right on the cusp between Friday and Saturday. But on Friday, there's a lot going on with the aspects. One is Mercury's over Venus. So there could be a new chapter with maybe learning and communication in relationships, perhaps. Maybe just feeling a little bit more inquisitive or wanting to learn, or maybe some new themes arising around communication in those one-on-one connections. And the other way around, with Venus over Mercury, we could see it as new values, new enjoyments. Maybe aside from relationships, maybe just enjoying a good book, some learning, some reading, writing. Things like this can be very enjoyable, especially if it has anything to do with improvement, with, again, that Virgo energy, improvement, refinement, things that require self-discipline with it. New chapter with those types of matters. Now, along with this is that Sun trine up to Pluto I talked about. So there is this very good empowering energy coming into the full moon. And also Mars is going to go exact with the opposition to Neptune. So it really is a balancing time, I think, between the fire aspects of ourself and the water aspects of ourself. So in this case, we might be feeling a little bit like there's a lot of water dimming the motivations a bit, or the drives with this one. But it is really good to channel this in constructive ways. So some good ways of doing this might be, yes, what are some of these ideals with the full moon? Some of these deeper things that are, again, more important on a soul level that we can put some action towards and motivation towards and drive towards. But again, with balance and moderation. When I see this combination, I always think of a sort of spiritual warrior with Mars and Neptune. Mars is the warrior, the active, the drive, the ambition. And then Neptune is the letting go, the peace, the surrender. And so spiritual warrior, like say a samurai, is very much about connecting to that ethers of life, yet still taking action and being very assertive and active there. All right, so a lot going on there. Friday, the moon will be in Aquarius, so the theme on Friday will likely be around more of that progressive energy of maybe groups, community, contribution, or accessing more of our eccentric and freedom of self-expression. And then after the full moon, definitely getting into that water energy with the moon in Pisces over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday, the moon will be in Pisces. And those will be probably any shifts that'll happen, probably going into Saturday. Any shifts might happen where we maybe become a little bit more aware of how we can implement more of this receptive side, or want to. And now over the next 2 weeks, and in the larger sense, the next 6 months, we can now further develop this side of ourselves. Again, fundamentally connecting to the ethers of life, surrendering what's outside of our control to find a little bit more peace in life. This also favors things like imagination, creativity, and again, those ideals that might arise on that soul level. All right, so everyone have a fantastic full moon weekend. Thank you again for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet, and I will see you all on Monday for the daily forecast. Take care.